All right, everybody. I was on the forums a few months ago and just kind of saw this amazing post with all these great pictures of this alignment system that I could do more precisely in my garage. And then I'm like, man, that looks real complicated. And so then I DM'd you or private messaged you on Renlist, and I said, you know, CSM Motorsport, CSM Performance, who are you? What are you about? I know you don't know me, but I've been on the forums a lot, and you were probably like, who is this douchebag, you know, emailing me? And so I said, I think we need to make a video. And so I convinced Colton to come down here. And so introduce yourself to the audience. You own CSM Performance, and you came down from up north, and you're going to help us do this. So
you got it.
Who are you? What are you about?
I'm Colton Miller, founder of CSM Performance. I've been doing this since 2018.
Okay.
So we just progressed along the way. Really found a home in the Porsche market.
Okay.
991s, 92s, all of them. So yeah, just happy to be down here from Kansas City and setting up your car.
Okay, cool. Awesome. We'll get more of his background as we're doing the job. First thing we need to do is check, what you said, ride height on the ground?
Yep, so we're going to check ride height on the ground, just because the hub stands won't match the tires due to deflection right off the get-go. Okay. So we need to take some measurements that we'll use comparatively later on, and then we'll set the hub stands accordingly to get it right.
So this car was aligned by GMG, so it's an aggressive, it's probably like -2.9, something, aggressive track alignment. I don't like how it feels. I don't like how the factory suspension reacts, the bumps, it's tram lining. I'm sure it's great at the limit, but when I'm driving this thing around town, you know, and so I want a close to factory height. We're probably going to shoot the gap, so we're going to come up a little bit. I think it looks amazing right now.
No, it does,
But when you drive it down the road, it looks broken.
Okay.
Right, because it's sunk.
Yeah.
It's too aggressive, too much camber. You know, I like how this car looks, and so you Porsche guys can flame me. Really, this is, you know, this is for track guys, right? This is for racers. This is guys for maximize performance. Well, I want to maximize performance on the street, so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to set up here. So we're going to do my car, and then we're going to do Mike's car as well, and get our aggressive alignments back to more factory spec.
Sounds good.
Sorry, I'll quit interrupting.
You're good.
Let's do our thing.
Yeah, sweet. So the first thing, we're going to grab tape measures out of the kit, and we're going to take a couple measurements on the pinch weld. And these aren't your ride height measurements. These are just a comparative measurement that we're going to use later on. So it's pretty straightforward. So we use Stereo calibrated tape measures for everything that we do. So that way we know we're good to go. They all get calibrated in-house.
So we don't need my Milwaukee, you know, out of the, where this thing kind of moves around.
Yes. So they all move a little bit to make up for pushing in and pushing out.
Yeah.
So depending on what direction you're doing, but we actually have a gauge that we go through every single one of these and make sure they match exactly to each other.
Okay, cool.
So the first thing we're going to do is take a couple measurements, and then we'll push that over to the setup sheet on the computer, and that way we can keep everything to track.
Have you used this thing yet?
I haven't, but I'm excited to see it.
Okay, sweet. I want to make sure it doesn't fall on your lap.
You're good. All right, cool. So I've already built out some specs for this that we're going to go do today. So the first thing, we've got comparative ride height measurements. That's what we're going to take right now. Then we'll fill that in. We've got the tire diameters for your car, and then what we're going to set the hub stands to.
I think that, so I'm putting those wheels on. I think they're the same tires.
Yeah, then that's fine. No big deal. The big thing that we want to get right, it actually doesn't matter if we get the total height right. It's that we get the rake angle, front to rear right.
Okay.
And then we can compensate for whatever difference in ride height.
Gotcha. So if you bring the front up, you have to get the proper rake. And the rake's not 0 degree on a GT3?
It typically isn't. And we'll see it in the comparative measurements. Maybe it is, but it normally isn't.
Okay.
There's normally some rake going on.
Got it. From back to front, so the rear's a little taller?
Usually, yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't think I've ever seen a case where the front's taller. Usually it's some aero effect.
Gotcha.
Using the front's a little shorter.
Okay, cool.
So from there, we've got the alignment goals. These are just the factory OEM specs for the GT3RS that we're going to go off of. So OEM puts them out in arc minutes, which is not common in the racing industry. A lot of times people use millimeters. So I've converted those to millimeters to till already. It's just a quick conversion. It's pretty straightforward. It's covered in our instructions. So we'll make sure we follow those. And then we've got our ride height
So
goals.
we're going to go -1.5 front and rear.
That's correct. Yep.
And then our front toe is what, +2?
Yeah, 2 arc minutes, so about 0.25 millimeters total, 1/8 of a millimeter if you want to go into fractions per side. So it's really almost 0 toe.
Okay.
Like just basic. A lot of times
The little toe in?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So a lot of times folks don't want to use zero toe because it's kind of this weird float point.
Yeah.
You want to push it in or push it out.
Got it.
So a track alignment, you'll typically see toe out on the front. It helps turn in. But on the street, you're looking for something that tracks on the road easily and doesn't veer left to right for every bump.
Yeah.
Typically, you want to lean towards toe in.
Gotcha. And that's factory spec?
Yep. It's factory spec.
Okay.
And then the same in the rear. The rear uses a little more toe in. It helps keep the car tracking straight down the road.
Yeah.
And then we got a ride height goals. The factory gave a range for it. So we'll follow that range. We'll see what we're at right now and maybe shoot the gap, see what we get to.
I like that.
And we'll go from there.
So are you an engineer?
Yeah, so background, mechanical engineering. I started this company halfway through college. I had a Corvette that I used to track a long time ago and wanted to set up hub stands. Didn't like any designs out there, so I went to it myself and just kept growing. So it's been an awesome experience. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take measurements at the pinch weld, front and rear. Again, these are just comparative. They don't really mean anything to us right now. So we'll come up and we're going to note where we took these because we're going to measure at the same spot for the comparison.
So you're doing it at the puck spot, like where the little oblong circle is?
Yep, it actually doesn't matter where we do it because it's solely comparative. As long as I measure back to the same point later on, when we set the ride height of the car, we'll use the factory specified locations. But right now, since we're just comparing, it doesn't actually matter where we measure it from.
Does this floor matter?
No, it'll be fine. We'll take the top because that's where the pucks for the leveling pads and everything are going to sit on top.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
A lot of times you'll see folks set ride height off the fender, like from the ground to the fender.
What I always
and
do.
that's technically not correct. Yeah. Because car to car, there's variation where the fender actually sits versus the frame.
Well, plus you could be in a, trying to find, all right, where's the center, trying to hang it down like a plumb bob, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's Porsche, they pretty much nail everything.
Yeah.
So there's probably a good consistency from car to car.
Yeah.
But if you follow any like factory manuals, they tell you specifically not to do it.
Okay, no, I never even thought of that. Well,
yeah,
that's so much smarter.
There's machined areas under the car that are specific to it as well. So they want to keep it as specific as they can.
I knew we were going to have fun doing this, Mike. This is good.
Yeah, there's all sorts of nerdy stuff here. So, cool. So on the front, on the pinch weld, we're looking at 108 millimeters. Yeah. So we'll go up here, I'll write that down, otherwise I'm gonna forget.
Yep.
So we've got front left.
So when you're doing this, do you set it for driver? Like you measure with Matt in the car, without the car, so how important is that?
Yeah,
Street?
so if you want to corner balance the car, then totally put the weight in it. And normally what we do, we'll just put like barbells in the seat, something similar to kind of the layout. If you want to get really specific, you put like 80% in the seat and 20% in the floor well to try to match, the actual person's layout.
You get really, really into it.
Yeah, exactly. For us today, it's Porsche and everything's, we're on the factory stuff, so corner balancing is going to be fine for us. So we're not going to stress about it. And so in that case, there's no point in adding
we don't have the scales?
No, there's no scales. There's no need for us today. If you were a cup car and you wanted every ounce at the track, but since we're already factory suspension, it's already going to be
So you're recommending like guys that are like me, like that don't buy the scales? You don't need them?
There's probably no point. If you plan on tracking it and you want that corner balance, sure. But there's already complications that come in with corner balancing too. Like you have adjustable sway bar end links and all these different things.
Yeah.
So say you corner balance the car because you disconnect the sway bar, and then you don't have adjustable links, and you have to move the sway bar itself to get it to link, it messes up the corner balance.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a couple extra things you need when you go down to corner balance route. But for something like this, driving on the street all the time, there's probably no point in spending the time on it.
Gotcha. Every time I've ever done it at an alignment shop, it was like we just wasted all that time.
Exactly.
They basically put on the scales, charged me another $200, like, okay.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
So nothing to worry about for us today. If you ever get a cup car and you want to you're going to Sebring and you want every ounce out of it, absolutely.
Okay.
But otherwise, really no point for us today.
Yeah, I like these recommendations, because I'm like, we're not going to corner balance, and it's not going to work right.
Right. Shouldn't be a big deal.
All right.
As long as ride height's even side to side,
it takes minutes. Corner balance.
Yeah.
I get this.
And it's a road to go down. It's one more iterative process to add to it if you want to take that on. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All
right, let's get the left rear.
So factory was 113 to 117, and we're at 108.
Well, that's the factory spec is at the factory ride height location, which we're not measuring at.
Gotcha. Okay.
It just happens to be close to that number.
Got it. Okay.
It could be 200 millimeters. It wouldn't matter right now. It's just comparative.
Good clarification.
So then we'll do it at the back. Right at about 138. Okay. So this will actually be a good show if the left and the right are even right off the get-go.
How much does the rake or the pitch of my garage matter? Is that going to mess us up?
It won't mess us up. Does it have an effect on corner balancing front to rear? Yes. And if corner corner balancing, you set an even plane anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to set an even plane with the leveling pads. So it's designed for like a paddock. If you ever go to like Road America, for example, it's all a mess. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So we create that level plane with the
So you
leveling pads.
factored that into the equation.
You got it. We've got 113 on the front right.
Yeah, so we're pretty significantly off there.
It could be fictitious because the pinch weld isn't necessarily like a precise thing, but it's a good indicator.
Yeah.
What did measure at 113?
Yeah, versus 108.
Yeah.
143.
I'm saving your life here in the air-conditioned garage because you'd be in real pain if we were outside or in a regular garage.
That's fair. Yeah, I put a mini split in ours.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
So cool. So now we've got our comparative ride height measurements. So what we'll do next is we'll pick the car up with the quick jacks.
Okay.
We'll take the tires off. I'm excited to see this, the gun do it. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get the hub stands on.
Okay.
We'll torque down the clamping bolts on the hub stands. We'll get the leveling pads all set up and get ready to go. So
This is my nightmare. I hate quick jacks so much.
they are a thing to work with on the hub stands because they move it fore and aft when you pick up and set down. So we'll take a couple iterations to make sure we get everything in the right position.
You do the engineering, Mike, and I'll do the grunt work. We'll do that.
I think we have to put them on after.
We had our beautiful recessed scissor lift and had to give it up because I gave that building up. Back to floor jacks and quick jacks. Let's see what happens, see if it breaks the doors off.
Yeah, the moment of truth. I feel like every time I use quick jacks, I'm nervous. I'm taking it up. I'm like,
Just give it a couple of bumps.
Yeah.
And go check it out.
Touch and then we check it.
Go up a little more. That's good. There you go.
yeah, that should work out. It'll be fine. If not, we can always raise it up. No big deal.
Yeah. One of Maddie's favorite things to clown on is the quick jack. So
Freaking stupid.
They work, you know.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, when you don't have a lift in the garage, it's
That's
great
true.
helper. And I hate using a jack.
All right, so if you guys are new to this, the first time you watch any of my videos, this is a Hytorc with a deflection arm. What do we call that? A
Reaction arm.
reaction arm, yeah. And so this has the Porsche program set in it to put it to 442 foot-pounds. It also does the quarter turn procedure as well, which is sick.
Nice.
In our alignment, the wheels aren't going to be on like they were in the Hunter machine. So how are we? If the offset's a little different on those wheels, does it matter?
It shouldn't make too big of an impact now. It's actually better to get the wheel out of the way. It's one less thing that adds deflection, that adds uncertainty.
So a lot of people put a towel in here. I don't find it necessary. It doesn't do anything to the wheel with this Delrin arm. All right, so I'm gonna go loosen. That's it. So here, like this. So we have these in the store for you Porsche bros that are new here. I forgot to bring my wheel guide, but we'll be all right.
Wonder how much reduction's in that thing. It's probably like 1,000 to 1 gearbox or something.
It's gotta be, yeah. I think it's good to this one's good to 600 foot-pounds. Or
Oof. The magic is not getting the anti-seize everywhere.
you're right. It's too late.
You get it anywhere. It's
I
on
probably
your
already-
face, on your face.
Yeah.
Probably already have it behind my ear. And I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You just have to find a position that fits. Oops. Loosen. So you could sit there all day and let that do its thing. That's the one thing. It doesn't have a ball detent on it. Which I don't like.
Interesting.
So it just kind of falls off. It's right the first time.
Something better than holding the brake with a 10-foot bar. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Pushing the brake as hard as you can.
But this saves us. Saves us some pain, saves us sweating, saves us having to have an assistant to hold the brake.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the install procedure is easier too. And then it's more precise. I'm about due to send mine out for a calibration. They recommend once a year. There are Hytorc trucks that drive around,
Oh, nice.
but not all of them have the capability to do these.
Kind of like the snap-on idea.
Mm-hmm. I think we have some of these in stock too, if anybody wants one. They've been hard to get. I don't know what that was all about. Okay. Good about these.
How long does a battery last on one of those?
I don't know. I've never had it run out.
Fair enough. That works.
Yeah.
Good enough answer for me.
Yeah. It lasts forever. So I'm going to replace these wheels with. So these were a Tag Motorsports Vossen. You see the sweet jack too, Colton?
That is pretty cool.
Only the best.
Is it all aluminum or?
Huh?
Is it all aluminum?
Yep.
Nice.
All, you know, CNC from I think it's forged, you know,
Nice.
out of a single block.
Yeah.
It's about $2,400 or so. All right, that's the boring part.
Sweet. Cool. So next up, we'll get the, so we've got our laser leveling system. Let's start pulling everything out of here for you.
So this, which version of the kit? So this is the non-corner balance kit.
Yep, so this is the Porsche Pro. So this is, you can corner balance with this kit, you just need scales.
Okay.
So you can buy scales from Intercop, Longacre, whoever you want.
Do you sell them as a package in a
We
Pelican,
do.
or?
We can source them as well.
Yeah.
So kind of, it's whatever you want. It's designed to work with an array of scales.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty universal.
Okay.
We typically recommend Intercom scales. They just, over the past couple of years, they seem to be the most rigid ones.
Yeah.
They also make zero deflection scales if you want to take it the next step, which have like 4 load cells inside to really make sure they don't deflect at all.
Gotcha.
So if you see something like IndyCar, and you look at their scales, you'll see there's like 8 screws in the top of the scale. It's because there's 4 sets of load cells in there to make sure there's no deflection.
So this package, you buy this, it comes like this.
Yep, you got it.
And those are in here, and which you took out, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's set into the heights for
And
us.
so this
later.
package costs what?
This package right here would be 11.8 the way it sits.
Okay.
So the package, the hub stands are right at 10K. The case is $1,500, and then the center lock adapters add $400.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
that's kind of the total there.
So you can choose to buy the case or not if you
Exactly.
want to. Okay.
Totally up to you. And then, for example, like say we wanted to pull a cup car in after this and do it. The only thing that we're going to change out to do a 992 cup car are these adapters.
Okay.
They just have a different center lock, and that's it. Everything else stays exactly the same.
So you could just add that piece if you had both cars. And,
Exactly.
and then what about a lugged car,
So this covers it too. So we've got the spherical pattern
Oh, okay.
for the 5x130 lug pattern.
So could I do my M3?
So 5x130, you couldn't cover the M3. But say you want to do the M3.
Yeah.
Easy. All you need is a new set of plates.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the grid plates in a second for the laser alignment system. But then you pick up the grid plates.
So I could just buy plates for every car that I own?
Yes. And then everything else stays the same. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This kit, for example, if we featured in our video series, it went to an IMSA race to demo for some teams. So it's actually a really good example. I mean, everything's hard code anodized. So it's the same stuff used in airplanes. I don't recommend it, but technically you can take a file to this and it won't scratch off the coating. It's super tough. So we do everything with hard code anodizing.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. So you can see we've used this several times, and there's really no marks on the plates from being used.
Jeez.
So
Okay. All right, let's do it. What do we do next?
Sweet. So next up, we're going to get the laser leveling system out, and we're going to set up the leveling pads so we get that nice level plane for the hub stands. So we've got the laser leveling system. The way this works, it's just a laser level on our own. It's all CNC, hard code anodized tripod. It just clamps on. Bam. Just threads in with the clamp nut, and that's it. So we'll set that in the front of the car, casting to the rear. And then we'll just let that sit for now. We'll set up the hubs or the leveling pads, and then we'll adjust this to whatever height we need it to, and then we'll level the leveling pads. This will all make sense once it's done. Basically, this puts everything on the same plane, so we're on a nice level surface.
Got it.
So I'll set this over here for now. We'll just leave it off, and then we're going to take the second layer out of this case. This all just comes out, and there's a whole second layer to be added.
Oh, okay.
So-
Now it looks even more $11,000.
Yeah, exactly. So the leveling pads are in the front, and then the laser leveling system are in the rear. And so we did it on these. We could put customers' logos on the grid plates. The Obsessed Garage is on there for the 991.
He's making some assumptions that he's not taking this home.
So the grid plates vary based on wheelbase. So basically, the longer or shorter the wheelbase, the distance between the lines changes. So like, for example, if you had an M3, what you would change is the hub mount plates up there, and then you'd also change the grid plates to match your wheelbase.
Okay.
There are some that are pretty close, and you can get away with it, like the 991 and 992s are the same. And then the 981, sorry, and then the 718 are pretty much all the same wheelbase, so they all can get kind of lumped together to make it easy.
Okay.
Porsche does a really good job of keeping things similar generation to generation, which helps things out a lot.
You can even see it a lot of the trailing arms and sway bars, and they're reused from car to car.
I mean, you can take those control arms pretty much back to 996s if you really dig into it. So, sweet. So the leveling pads will come out. So I'll set these out. And underneath are the screws for the leveling pads. We do have some toolbox options coming out soon. So that's for customers, say you want a toolbox and you don't want to take these apart, take the leveling screws out every time. Say you go track to track and you just want to get it out, use it, put it back. We've got those options available too. But this is by far the most common thing.
The Pelican case with your
exactly
CNC'd foam.
So yeah, you can see the foam. This thing's done several cars. It's traveled thousands of miles.
Yeah, got shipped here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Shipped here UPS.
Yeah, cool. These just thread in. And we'll do this for all four corners. And everything here is oversized. These are 5/8 studs. Everything's built to be heavier duty than needed. We save weight where we can save weight, and then we keep strength in other areas to make sure what's important and what's not important, right? So I'll just thread right in.
I like this. You thought of everything. You put a little sleeve on there, keep them from banging around.
Exactly.
What does your toolbox look like at home? Is it like super
It's
dialed?
like this, yeah.
See, I like this guy.
Yeah, the whole machine shop and
destined to be
all the
best
toolboxes,
friends.
drawers. So, you waste 2 seconds every time you look for a tool. 2 seconds add up,
Yeah.
So next thing, 3 months later, what it cost to make the foam would have saved you the money and the time, Obviously you get it, all the sonic tools, so.
And you're confident I can do this on my own.
You can do it on your own.
Yeah. Right now it looks overwhelming.
I mean, we'll have this video. We've got a tutorial series out there. The instructions up there, which you probably won't go through because I'll just walk you through everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 90 pages and 50% of that's examples.
Got it.
To kind of step through everything. Yeah, we've got these all over the world. Yeah, customers pretty much everywhere.
Nice.
And then these are all designed, the hub mount plates are designed this way, and so are the leveling pads, so they can go in any corner. So they're all designed and machined exactly the same. So some folks will mark on front right, front or left rear, etc. It's not required. You can do that if you want to, but there's really no reason to. Everything's designed exactly the same.
So these are going to go sit underneath each.
Yep. So what they'll do is we'll set them underneath, center them underneath the rotor as best you can. We'll have to adjust them a little bit because the quick jacks move in the car fore and aft once we get everything set up. But yeah, they just center it up right underneath, and then we'll go through and level all of them out.
Got it.
Then we'll keep the level side. So we've got these level vials in here.
Yep.
You can technically do it inside or
It's easier
outside,
to
totally up
see.
to you.
Yep.
But it's just easier to see if they're facing outboard.
This is the.
We'll get the hub stands, go ahead and put them on, and then we can kind of see where everything's going to lay out.
Okay.
So the hub stands are really straightforward. I've already got these set for the front and rear. So what we do, so the hub stands can have a 3-inch adjustment range. That's just a design constraint based on how tall everything is. So what we do, we can't always match the tire height, which is fine, but we need to match the rake angle. So that's what we've done. So we'll match the rake angle front to rear, and then we'll adjust it as needed using those comparative ride height measurements that we took.
So you got it roughly 26.5 and 28
Yep.
for the.
So your rear wheels are 28 or rear tires are 28.7.
Yep.
It's outside the range. So we take it down 0.7 to 28 maxed out. And then the fronts, see if I can do mental math in my head, we're 27.3, so we set them to 26.6.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's just the compensation, and then we'll see how all that plays out with the right height measurements.
27 point. Oh, I got you. Okay. Yeah.
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 It's just offsetting each direction.
7/10. Yeah.
So it is common with, like, say you were only going to ever do this car. What we do is we'd make you plates that cover the exact range.
Oh, okay.
But these are the Porsche Pro plates, so they cover a whole range of Porsches.
Got it.
Like, for example, if you wanted to put these on a cup car, you can. You want to put them on a 718 GT4, you can. All that stays the same, so we cover the range required to make everything happen.
What's a plate set cost?
$1,200 for
Okay,
the
so
4 plates.
for each car, you can just
Yep.
have them all hanging in my cabinet, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a lock-a-lug design. Basically uses slots and hardened washers to cover 5x100 up to 5x130. If you want to carry a whole bunch of different cars, that works out pretty well. Usually, if you're going to do west, 3 cars to west, just a normal set of plates. If you're a shop and you're going to do Mercedes and BMW and Porsche and Ford, then we kind of lean towards that lock-a-lug design.
Got it. Okay.
So, sweet. We've got these set up. These are the shorter ones, so they'll wind up going on the front, and the longer ones go on the back. So we'll just start with the front. So grab the hub mount plate, hub stands, and then we've got the center lock adapters. So these always talk about what they are. Some of these are engraved with the CNC mill, and some of them are just laser etched. We pretty much transitioned all the laser etching. Cool, so we know this one covers the 991, 992, GT3 and GT3RS. It also covers the new 718 GT4RS rear. This GT4RS has a shorter front one, same rear one though. And then we torque it to 100 foot-pounds. We can torque it to more, it's just not required. There's no dynamic loading here. It's all just static loading. So even when we use lug nuts and we bolt it on the car with lug bolts for Porsche's sake, we only torque them to 30 foot-pounds. There's no need to go crazy.
Okay.
So get these on. So we'll need the nut for the front left. Let's see if I can get anti-seize all over my hands.
Yeah.
There we go. And so we've got rotor drive pins, and this pattern is for those rotor drive pins. So they'll clear these.
Okay.
So we'll spin it by hand, maybe. If I need to close both hands here. Get straight up and down. There we go. And this is going to slide right in over the rotor drive pins.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So the rotor drive pins are just clearance. They're tight, but they're just clearance. What actually centers everything is the center lock nut.
Okay.
Let's just
You have this
straight in.
adapter. Okay.
There we go.
Spacer. Yeah.
Center lock nut goes in.
And what do you want? 30 foot-pounds?
100 for this one. You got 2 options. Someone can hold the brakes to do it. Sometimes folks will just run it up against the caliper. I generally don't recommend that, especially for these because you've got the brake line to worry about.
Yeah. Don't do that. To
So otherwise, just hold the hub stand is the easiest way to do it. So if you want to tighten, I'll hold the hub stand.
Ready?
You ready? There we go. That's it.
Nice.
Sweet. So we're on. Cool. So now you can see these aren't quite centered. So we'll adjust this one. What's going to happen is, since the quick jack is going to send the car forward, we're actually going to have to offset this a little bit to the forward.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and do all 4 corners and get everything ready to go. We're going to settle it. So one of the beauties of the hub stands, we're on ball transfers. So once we set this car down, we're going to move it around with 1 finger.
Got it.
So everything's going to settle right back out again.
I
You
see. There's a
can-
ball bearing in that little.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. There we go. Sweet. So
Gauge that so we can get it straight.
take off the e-brake and put it in neutral. Yeah, the whole taking the car up and off the off weight and then back on weight, it's an argument to be made. But that said, racing teams, do this every weekend. Yeah, they're typically running Heims, but this is, if you go to any race shop that really cares, typically they're gonna have some set of hub stands or something along those lines. These are gonna shift a little bit just due to quick jacks, but we'll go ahead and get them in the same plane and level.
Yeah, we could go down a little bit and then you can find out where it's gonna lie and then we can move those.
Yeah, that works too, either way.
Down a little bit.
We're gonna have to move them either way,
Okay.
so
All
we can at least get them close now.
Okay.
Sweet, so we've got these leveling pads, leveling poles. So these will thread in to the leveling pads, and what they do is they're 25 millimeters above it. So the laser line, when we get that right in this little slot, it puts all 4 leveling pads in the same exact plane. Oh, okay. Now we're level. And then we've got the level vials on each individual leveling pad to make sure them, like the leveling pads itself are level. So we've want them on the same plane, and we want each leveling pad level. And then it gives us this
that little
fictitious
slot on the
surface.
outside there, I see.
Exactly. So there's 2 spots. You can do the outside or the inside. We typically always recommend the inside. It's the easiest one, and it gives the best visibility. You can actually place the laser level wherever you want. We've got it at the front of the car. That's pretty common. You can put it at the back, the side. It really doesn't matter. It's all the same idea.
The shopping ability that I have is unparalleled in this world.
All right. So this was like a decent height for the hubs or the leveling pads. You've still got like an inch of adjustment upward if we need it.
Yeah.
So leave them here for now, and we'll turn on the laser level. Everything's got rechargeable batteries in it. The lasers in the laser alignment system we'll get to in a minute, they're actually pretty powerful. So we had to go with like kind of heavy duty. There's CR123s that are rechargeable.
Yeah, yeah.
They last about 4 to 6 hours for you to recharge it. It's kind of this like catch-22 between good visibility, uses power, right?
Yeah.
So it's this big kind of balance. You can use hefty batteries, but then we get this hefty component, and that's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything has rechargeable batteries in it. So we're gonna drop this down a little further.
So we're doing this to set height or
Both. We're setting all the
initial?
leveling pads in the same plane.
Okay.
And then this will also get tied into the ride height gauge. So they all kind of work together.
Okay.
with one laser.
So this is what we're doing for ride height, or we're going to do alignment at the same time?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll set ride height with this laser, which we'll get to in a minute, and then after we set ride height, we'll adjust some alignment specs. For like right now, let's say you're at, I'm just making it up, 3 degrees of camber in the front.
Yeah.
So now we're at 3 degrees of camber. We're going to need to go in, and when we reduce that camber, you're actually going to pick the car up a little bit with the hub stands, and so it's actually going to say, hey, my ride height changed. And so we'll have to go in and make a couple adjustments each way.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So this is now, you're able to see it.
Yep, so you can see the laser line. Here it is on the leveling pole.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we want to make sure that we have adjustment on all of these, where it's currently at, to make sure all of these can get adjusted. So this one needs to go down. Plenty of adjustment to go down, that's fine. So we'll go to the back. How are we looking?
That's good.
We'll pick it up. See, oh, I've been blocking it by the quick jacks. Let's see. I might have to move the laser level.
So you put it on in front of the car,
Yeah, I can push it in further.
maybe.
There we go. I think that'll be pretty close. We can adjust as needed once we get there. So since we have a center lock, we can't go to the hub of the car, right? Center lock's in the way.
Yeah.
So I can't measure camber and caster off the hub. So we have to measure it somewhere else. So we have these little magnetic adapters that go in. Make sure I can get this in there. Make this work out. Usually I install these before I put them on, but this works too. There we go. So we'll magnetically attach to it instead of magnetically attaching to the hub, which we can't get to.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna adjust the leveling pads until we get that laser line in this slot on all 4 corners.
Okay.
Again, it's gonna change because we're gonna shift around a little bit, but that's really close and a good starting point. So we can start at any corner, it really doesn't matter. So right here on this one, it's from the back, because the laser line's at the back. You can see that it's, I don't know, a couple of millimeters above. Yeah. So we need to raise the leveling pad up. One of the big rules, so this is commonly done. The top of the leveling pad, and this is covered in the instructions, is as far as we can thread this. We're not going to thread it any further. So if we wind up in a situation where, hey, I need to thread further than this, we're just going to adjust the laser level.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a situation where the ground is so unlevel, we wind up in this boat, we make spacers that you can put on the ground to solve that issue. It's pretty rare. We've got quite a bit of adjustability in there. I think the only time we've ran into that is like Road America's paddock, where it's all, you know. So.
Or if you had a really like aggressive rake on a scissor lift or something like that, yeah.
That's true. I've seen some garages that have quite a bit of drainage.
So where that laser level is doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Height.
Exactly. Okay. Doesn't matter. We can set it wherever we want. We want to set it where it's convenient for us.
Okay.
Where it's convenient means I like keeping the leveling pads high. And so that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this is going to work out. And if I need to move the laser level, I will.
And I think we're distributing weight pretty well. I don't think it's going to, the Swiss Trax is going to deflect at all.
No, we do ours on Swiss Trax. It's not bad at all. Yeah. It's actually pretty tough. It looks like it's going to work out on this one. So we've got the line centered. And again, it's just a baseline starting point.
Okay. And then you want to get the
levels. Exactly. So we're high on the left, or the right, I'm sorry. So we need to go up. There we go. Again, that's as far as I'm going to go. And then these should be back down. So we're kind of doing two things at once. We want to make sure they're level.
Yep.
And we want to make sure we're in this line. So now we leveled it, but we're a little bit below, so we actually need to drop the leveling pad down. So we'll do that evenly, about a quarter turn for each for the 4. Get that safety nut out of the way. There we go. So we're back to close, and there's level. And then we want to make sure this thing isn't rocking. We're on 4 corners.
Yeah.
And we do 4 for stability. There's some out there that use 3, and you can get away with it, but it's just not as stable.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we're not rocking, and we're not. And then we would thread these safety nuts up all the way. I'm going to wait for that because we're going to adjust it again. But that's a starting point right there. So we'll do that for all 4 corners. Then we'll set the car down and see where everything plays out. We might not be able to set the car down all the way just because of the fore aft of the quick jacks, and then we'll adjust them either forward or backwards. In this case, they're going to wind up going forwards. Cool.
So have you done any basic math on the accuracy difference of this versus, say, a Hunter system?
Yeah, so one of the things with the Hunter system, they work great for their purpose. Like to go take a car, a Toyota Camry, and get it right, awesome, right?
Yeah.
But when you start getting into the like minute details, this definitely takes over. We have a handful of shops that have both. And they'll talk about like, hey, I have a Hunter system. You pull the car up on it, take the measurements. Take the car back off. Pull the car back on. Not the same measurements. So and they have a calibration every year, I think, of what Hunter spec is. They need to get calibrated. Do you know if that happened or not? You know, and all those different things. It's really easy to fake some numbers too.
Yeah.
That said, they have their place, and I think they're great. It just depends on how specific you want to get.
This is so cool.
Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to center these.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and move them forward just because I know this is going to happen with the quick jacks. So here we go.
Want to come down now?
Yep, so we'll slowly take the car down.
Gentle.
So if you look, we're going to touch the fronts before we touch the rears. That just has to do with like suspension, travel, and everything else.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll get the fronts right. We're probably going to take them to the max extent that we can aft because it's going to come forward. So we can go
up first, then we
get the lockout. There we go. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. And stop. Sweet. All right. So we're about in the middle of the back ones. Looks good. We're just now touching the front ones. Okay. So this is actually probably going to work out pretty well. I want to match.
So you want to try to shoot the middle of the
as best you can. So we have to do a wheel sweep for the caster measurement, so we want to give ourselves as much room as we can.
Do you have to do any sort of lubrication to them?
Nope. So the ball transfers, the ball bearings and the hub stands they have a self-recirculating ball system. It's maintenance free. They are rebuildable, but I've been using them for 4 years now and never had to rebuild a single one.
Yeah, got it.
So take that for what it's worth. And then the stainless plates are all hardened stainless. And so you will actually see, because we've got two really hard surfaces. Ball bearings are hard, stainless plates are hard.
Yep.
So you'll start to see like marring. It's actually not. You can't feel it with your fingertip. It's actually just, a visual thing that winds up happening over time. Sweet. Good. Good. All right. Okay. Yep, so this one's like a little aft of the middle.
Yep.
This one's a little forward of the middle. So what we're going to do is we'll take the car back up. I'm going to shift this one about an inch forward. I'm going to shift this one about an inch back.
Okay.
And I'm going to make sure all of them are still in the same plane and level after we made all those little movements.
So
they're going to be really close, but so we can go ahead and take it back up. There we go. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So you were a little forward. You come a little this way. There we go. Let me make sure it's still correct. So we're still in the leveling pole. We're still level on the leveling vials. So now we're going to run up these safety nuts.
So if you move it, you're going to want to adjust it. Okay, then
Yep.
you go set your safety nuts.
Okay.
What is Lena talking about? Watt box is beeping.
All right, we shifted. I should have wrote this down. That one that direction. So this one needed to go, it was too far forward.
Yeah, you need to go back. Yeah,
Back. Sweet. It's pretty close. And so now we're going to recheck the vials. Vials are close. They're dead on, and we're still in the leveling pole. So as long as your garage floor is pretty level, these small changes really aren't going to have an impact. So that's what we're seeing here. It really just depends kind of what environment you're in. Make sure all four are touching. All four are touching. And I'm going to thread up the safety nuts. So we've made sure everything's still on the same plane. We've made sure everything's level.
Yep.
We ran up the safety nuts. And now we're ready to set the car back down.
Are we too far forward on this front one here?
I don't think so. As long as they're all even, we can just push the car as needed.
Got it.
Good, good. Make sure we're not hitting the buffer plate. We're not quite there yet. All right, you can let it down a little further. Are we down? Sweet. All right, here's the magic.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's magic. So the car will want to drift around as needed. That's the whole purpose. Zero friction. Pretty cool?
Let's just go push it down the street.
Yeah. So this is why we need this level environment. So say you had this giant flat plate and you set it on a giant flat plate.
Right out the door, yeah.
Yeah, so it's always something to watch. Cool, so next step, we've got lockout plates. So we like this movement. This movement's really nice until we want to make a change and we don't want that movement anymore.
Okay.
So we've got some lockout plates that go in the back that hold the car in place.
Okay.
So they're pretty straightforward. These drop in and we lock out all motion. And then the other side, we allow it to expand. And it'll make sense here in a second. So what these are going to lay out and look like is on the driver's side, we'll lock it in place. On the passenger side, it'll be allowed to expand. And that's because of camber. So as we change camber, or toe, everything technically affects it, we're going to affect our track width. And so we have to give some room for track width to adjust in and out.
Okay. Gosh, you thought of everything. Well, every solve creates a new problem.
Right, yes. You know, hey, now we have
lots of movement. And, yeah, right.
Exactly. And so here you are cranking on a tow arm to adjust the toe, and the car moves,
Slide around a little
which is fine. It's not going to change your alignment measurement, but it's not comforting, you know, and it's moving around. So we limit that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check the ride height at the same measurement location we did it initially. But this time we're going to use the ride height gauge. So what this is going to do is tell us the difference between the ride height at this location, not the factory location, just some location, with the wheels on like we did when we initially started, and then we're going to check it at what it's at the hub stands, and we're going to see a difference. There's going to be a difference between the two numbers, and that we know is our differential for the ride height. Does that make sense? Cool. So I think we'll need to move the quick jack out of the way to take that measurement,
Okay.
But that'll be pretty straightforward.
But we need to guess at the ride height, right? I mean, Because you can't really tell without the wheels and tires on, right? Or,
Yeah, so we're making a correction. So we know that the hub stands are different than the wheels and tires.
Yeah.
Right, just because they are because of deflection. So what we'll do is, we'll say, I'm just gonna make this up real quick. Say the left front, which is 108.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that measurement now that we're on hub stands, and it says it's 105.
Okay.
We're a 3 millimeter difference. In this case, the hub stands sit 3 millimeters lower than the tires.
Okay.
So I know to compensate for that when I set the ride height. And then you will get ride height, exactly.
Okay, but I have to decide what my ride height is.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll know because that differential. So say it's 5 or just whatever.
Okay.
When I check the ride height at that location and it's, what's the factory? Say at the front it's 117. We want 117 and it's currently at 110. We take that 5 millimeter difference with the tires on, it's actually 105. And so we know what the real number is.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
You just
You're
said.
worried about like aesthetically, you want to see the wheel on drop it and see what your wheel gap is, your wheel fender gap is visually.
Well, yeah, but that's a freaking huge process.
I know,
Yeah.
but that's what you were getting at.
But we want to try to get
Okay.
it as close as possible, but yeah.
Yeah, which we're after a specific number, not necessarily, like we don't know what it looks like for wheel gap. We just don't know. So we set it with the hub stands.
Okay.
And then like once you do it once, and then you say we add 10 millimeters, making it up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, this is a little too high.
Yeah.
You know what to
just
adjust
do
it
it
to.
again.
On mind to do
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this sucks. I changed my mind. We should have done his first.
Yeah. So now what we did, we've got the ride height gauge in the same position we took the comparative measurements from earlier. And you can see the graduations from this side. You'll see the laser line on those graduations. And now we know whatever this says versus what we measured from the ground up, because we've effectively made our own ground plane with the leveling pads.
Okay.
The differential between with the hub stands on and with the tires on.
So you just it's touching the
Yep.
weld.
Exactly where I measured it with the tape measure.
And so now when you adjust the coilover up, then you'll be able to measure it on that.
Exactly. We're actually going to move that to the factory location, which is under the car. But this is just telling us our difference. So say this number is 10 millimeters different from the number we took at the tape measures. We know to compensate 10 millimeters on the ride height measurement that we take at the factory location.
Okay,
Make sense?
got it. And then I have to decide, okay, I want to come up 10 millimeters
Yep.
or 8 millimeters.
You got it. And whatever you want, that's what we'll do.
Shoot. How many millimeters do we want to come
Well,
up?
we'll see.
Your car and my car were almost sitting in exactly the same location, so we can go look at mine and figure out how much you want to measure up, how much you want to raise.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
they were literally probably both bottomed out.
We'll also know what you were at. So let's say the factory specs, I look at it, 115, and right now you're at 100. Then you know, hey, I've split the gap, you bring up 7 millimeters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we can get right at the edge of preload on the darn shock, on the spring,
Yeah.
is what I think we'll probably end up at.
We'll see. We are at 117 on here. All right, so left front, is that right? Yep, left front was 108 with the tape measures, and now we're measuring 117. All right, so our difference, make sure I write this out, tires, 117 hub stands.
5/16 of an inch.
Bam, equals a 9 millimeter difference. Hub stands taller. Cool. So now I'll do the same thing at all 4 corners. Bam. What do we got? 140. Yep. So you can see the pinch weld, this is just a good shot here, is welded, or not welded, it's painted, so it's not a great measurement spot. And that's why we only use this for comparative measurements. It's not meant for measurements for actual ride height. Just comparative. Sweet. Check one more spot just to make sure it's staying even throughout. There we go, yep. We're gonna stick with that. So basically, all I did right now was I measured back to the locations that I initially measured to find the comparative difference.
Yeah.
They're not even side to side. I think it's even this way, that the left is 3 millimeters different than the passenger, which is probably just due to a camber differential, or it's due to different tire pressures.
Got it.
Some of those lines.
But
So we
where
do.
did you put the gauge on the factory?
I haven't put it there yet. We'll show it in a second.
Okay, got
Yep. They're actually pretty easy. I can show it to you real quick if you want. You got to lay down though. So right here, you can see that there's this little rubber plug.
Yep.
And so where that rubber plug goes in is actually a machined surface. And we pull this little rubber plug out, bam, and we can get to the ride height location. It's the rubber plug keeps it protected from getting hurt. And then on the back side, there's one that's up on the spindle or the knuckle. I'll show it to you. And we have to use a little spacer that we've got in the kit for it as well. So we can go ahead and take these off. We'll set them off to the side, and then we're going to check the ride height up to there. So right here, bam. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's the factory ride height location. You almost got a little higher up. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. There you go. That's this motor towards me. I got your finger. Right there. That's it. It's a little flat machine surface. Oh, okay. And that's it. So you check that on the left side and on the right side.
Interesting.
Yep.
So that was tucked up in there, so no rubber caps on that one.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. So, yep, that's the idea. And so this is actually one of the, I think the GT3RS is the only one I've ran into this on. We actually have a little spacer that we include with the kits. Because the ride height gauge, because of the constraints to the size, can't get all the way up in there, so we have a little spacer that's 100 millimeters to get up in there. So we'll show that in a second. Yep. Cool. So now what we can do is we can check the ride height at the factory location and see what we're looking at.
So that's what we'll base our.
Yes, that's the real ride height. Everything up to this point was solely comparative to figure out the difference between the hub stands and the tires. Right. And the thing is, so next time you want to go do this, say you're going to make an adjustment, you already know the differential. As long as you didn't make some huge change on tire pressures, anything like that, you don't have to do this again. Okay. Like, if you want to get nitty gritty, and you can, if you want to check it again, that's fine. But if you're keeping the same, close to same alignment measurements, same tire pressures, same tires, you pretty much probably don't have to do this again.
Your alignment slides or changes, but your ride height doesn't.
Yeah, so the differential between the hub stands. So let's say you take the car out and you drive it for a month. And you bring it back in, you haven't touched the hub stands. You're like, hey, I want to change ride height 3 millimeters. That differential we found by measuring to the pinch weld doesn't change. That's going to be the same. Unless you went out and changed tires or you went out 5 PSI or whatever, then it would have an impact, but otherwise you don't need to go through this like checking process again. So what we'll do is we'll go to the factory location, we'll pop this thing up, and we'll see what the ride height setting is.
So this should jive with what Porsche, it should be somewhere in that range that Porsche says.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what the previous shop set it to, right? But we can set it to what Porsche wants. So we're gonna go under here and release this. It goes right up against that location. And so now we've got the laser line on these graduations. And so we can see exactly what the ride height measurement is right now. So we'll spin around, try to take a look at that. Here, what do we got? Right at 100, maybe 101. Yep, 101 millimeters, okay?
So, and then stock was 113 to 117.
Yep, we need to compensate for the hub stands versus the tires. We'll figure that out real quick. 7 millimeters. Yep, so we've got, what was it, say 101.
So it's 108.
The hub stands are taller than the tires, so it's lower than that.
Oh, so it's the opposite.
Yeah. So right now,
94.
current, yep, 101 minus 7.
94.
Yep.
And spec is 113 to
117.
Oh, wow.
So right now we're at 94 on the front left.
But do you have to add the 25 millimeters?
It'd be about 20.
No, it already does that when it already has that.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. The 25 millimeters is already built into the
So you're basically.
Yes, it's already built into it.
You're 19 millimeters lower than the lowest.
Yep. So we're outside of Porsche spec by 19 millimeters.
So if we came up 10 millimeters,
That'd be right in half. So we can do that.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 5/16 of an inch.
Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So, this little ring, push it down, clicks into place, and out we go. Check the other side.
And if I don't like that, we'll.
Yeah, there you go. Find the middle ground.
That should. You go first.
I'll take one for the team to go with whatever you did. You won't feel bad.
Yeah.
There we go. What do we got? Call it 102 on this side. But we can go ahead and adjust the front.
You'll raise this 10, so it'll be at 105.
105. Yep, 104, 105. We could just set it to, let's go with 105. It makes it a nice even number.
Okay.
Because it's basically splitting the difference between the left and the right.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do. Okay. So to do that, one of the cool things, we'll start on the left front. We can watch the ride height gauge as we make our changes.
Oh, yeah?
So because it's spring loaded.
It'll actually just go up as you go.
Exactly. So we're at 101 on the ride height gauge, which equates to 94 millimeters. We want to split the gap. So I want to take it up to 105. Yep. Plus 7, 105 plus 7, because we'll make it even side to side. We'll make it 112 on the ride height gauge. Spanner magic.
I think this one on top is the one I was working the best.
All right, just grab them all and set them down.
The various Olin's.
All right, usually these go pretty easy. We're gonna go easy or not? This one is slightly too small. And you can take the car up to set these, it's either way, but it's nice to get the live measurements
Yeah.
as we do it. So 112, we probably moved a couple millimeters. Yeah, up to about 103-ish. Got about 9 more to go.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah.
That's normally how it goes. So they want fine threaded because they want the adjustment, like the fine adjustment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of you get fine adjustment, but it takes a while kind of thing. So we're getting there. Should just
So that's going to be accurate. I always do this, move it too far, too little, and then put it on the wheel back on, and then I go, oh my gosh, I wasn't even close.
105. There's 115. Right at 112. Sweet, so that's what we want.
Okay.
Right at 112? 112. Nice. All right. So good there. And this is just for my own personal curiosity. We made, a 12 millimeter change to ride height. I'm curious to see how much the camera moved. Yeah, just personal curiosity here.
It was, what was it?
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah. So 1.1. Let me look what the factory spec is real quick. Factory is 1.5. So yeah, we can adjust it a little bit once we get there to add a little camber. Cool. So that's ride height on the front. So we're good there. We'll wait to set the spanner nuts, the locking ones, until we set the rear. Then we'll check all of it and make sure it's good to go. Yep, so the rear is weird for GT3RSs. Because the measurement point is so high up in there, we have this 100 millimeter spacer that goes on top to compensate. And we have to pick this up just a little bit.
So what is the factory spec, does it say?
I think it's 275. I'm pulling that out of the back of my head. It should say on
268 to 272.
There we go. We'll see what we are now. We can split the gap, or we can maintain the rake angle.
Because our tire only changed 2 millimeter from your to
Yep.
there.
So the hub stands are set to 28 inches, and the tires are 28.7. So you can see how much deflection there is. The nerdy term is the static loaded radius of the tire is so much different than what the tire is actually, just because of squishing down. So yeah, the technical term there is static loaded radius, if you want to get super nerdy. Cool, so we'll check the back. So what you're gonna see is we're gonna use the spacer, and then we're gonna have to pick up the ride height gauge just a little bit to get up into the measurement location. One of the things you can do, and this is totally up to you, if you lower the leveling pads off the get-go, you might not have to pick up the ride height gauge just because everything sits a little lower. This is like a GT3RS specific thing. So it's not that big of a deal usually ever. So, all right. So this one's kind of hidden up in the abyss. I'm trying to get in here. There we go, right at the max there. Is that 167? Okay. So that's 267 with the 100 millimeter spacer.
So
But if you're off the ground, how are you knowing?
It's an upside down ruler. It doesn't need to be on the ground. Yeah, so check it. If I go to the front, I don't expand this, and I just put this up against the ride height measurement location in the front. It'll show the same number as if I expanded it, it doesn't matter. Because this is the measurement point. It's an upside down ruler.
I gotcha, okay.
So yep, this is just for convenience. Really, I could take this top piece off and go, stick it up there, works exactly the same.
Got it.
It's just there to give like the live readings. Cool.
So 167?
Plus 100 for the 100 millimeter spacer puts us at 267.
And so I think we're right on. What was
Pretty close.
So what did I say it was?
We'll make sure we comp the difference.
It was just the front that was way low.
Yeah.
268 was, or 168 was what they said max.
Yeah,
260, 272. We're at 267 plus a millimeter off. The hub stands are taller, so we're actually at 266. So we could drop it down 4 millimeters if you want to put it right in the middle of the factory range. So the front will be a little lower, and it won't be the factory rake, by about 10 millimeters. Or if you want, we can leave it where it is, and that will be closer to the factory rake.
Yeah, I think we leave it.
Sounds good?
What's
looks like.
our camber here in the rear? It was 1.3 or something?
Yeah, I think so. We're looking for 1.5. $1.7. So it's, I believe a Porsche spec was 1.5 plus or minus 0.2. So we've got 1.7. That one's definitely out. We can go check all 4 corners real quick. So if we're gonna, like process-wise, right height first, right height set. Right, we're gonna leave it where it's at after we made the front change. So now we go to camber, we'll adjust camber, and then after camber we'll do toe. And we can't adjust caster just with factory arms, so that's fine. And as long as the camber's within front specifications, you're gonna be within the caster just because of the suspension design.
Got it.
So, sound good?
So that is easy then.
The setup, like the first setup is the hard part.
Yeah.
And then once you've got the first setup, like when we pull his car in, like it's gonna be much. We got 1.4, which checks because this one was originally about 0.3 higher, and that was the delta. So that's right on. Write that in. Negative 1.4. And as long as the back is within Porsche spec, we can probably just get away with adjusting the front left. Right, so there's 2 ways of adjusting camber on these. There's the shims at the bottom, right? So we actually need to add camber, and I brought some shims, so that should work out. And there's also, if we pop so at the front, we remove that plastic cover, you can access the top hats. So we want to take a look at those, and I want to see if they're maxed out or they're even side to side. Let's take a look. Sweet, yep, you got the GT3RSs. They're about even. Looks like, so you can see the slots. So what you can do is you can loosen those top nuts, and these will slide inboard or outboard. And you can actually see, so what will happen is over time, these will start to mar up the paint. It's just kind of what it is. So you can see where they once were and what they were adjusted to. They look pretty even, left to right. So I'm leaning towards just adding a shim to the lower control arm. That way we keep the top hats pretty close to each other.
And then when we add the shim, then if we needed a little fine adjustment, that's where you come up here and do it.
You got it. So usually the way it typically works is macro adjustment at the lower control arm, micro adjustment at the top hat.
Gotcha.
So it's a pretty cool rule of thumb. I don't know if Porsche planned this or just worked out this way, but the shim-wise is 10 millimeters per degree of camber. That's super close. So right now we need somewhere between 0.2 degrees and 0.6 degrees to be in the range, 1.3 to 1.7.
Okay.
So in the middle of that is what, 4? So 4.4 would be a 4 millimeter shim. So let's see, I brought one. I don't know if I've got a 4 millimeter, but I know I've got some. So there's a bunch of vendors out there that make these.
Yeah.
They're just water jet out pieces. These came from Tarrant Engineering is who we bought them through. So tons of different options out there. All right, the cool ones, like the higher end ones, if you want, already have their thicknesses marked on them, where these don't, so we have to go in and measure them. It's been a long time since I've used manual calipers. So that's 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters, I think these are 1. Yep, 1 millimeter, so probably a 2. Yep, it's a 2. Got another 1. Yep, so we got 2 1s, a 2 and a 3. The 3 is gonna put us right in the middle where we want. So we'll use the 3.
Don't use all the good shims up on Matt's car.
I don't know what the implications are, but I typically try to use the least amount of shims possible. Like if I had to stack up 5, I would rather use one 20 millimeter shim, if this was just an example, and one 2 millimeter shim, then 4 5mm shims and 1 2mm shim, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Typically always try to keep it as low as possible. So we'll take the car back up, and there's 2 nuts underneath the lower control arm that we'll loosen. It'll spread the lower control arm, we'll put the shim in, and then we'll tighten those nuts back up. This lower control arm right here, we've got 2 little nuts on the back side, holds in the studs, and this is the shim that's in there right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen these nuts, and you should just take them off. We'll pull the whole lower control arm towards us, and we'll pop the new shim in. Am I going the right way? Yes. All right, let me.
So with shim swap, there's no or adjustment, there's no like major loss of, you don't throw anything out of whack.
Exactly. I like the shim method. It's solid.
Yeah.
You know, like you're bolting up a solid shim.
Yeah, when you adjust the top hat, you're kind of guessing.
Yeah.
Unless there's a scale in there. But even still, it's a guess.
Yeah, some of the aftermarket ones I've seen, I don't know if it's for Porsches, but I've seen ones that have the little like
Yeah, it's a scale.
graduations on them. Who knows what they actually mean, if they're done in degrees or not. But.
So with camber, you just want to make sure your steering wheel's straight. Does it matter?
Yes, you want your steering wheel straight, but it really doesn't matter if we lock it right now or not. When we do tow, we've got the little steering wheel lock over there.
Yeah.
We'll actually lock it in place.
Yeah.
This is reasonably straight enough. It's actually, if you turn the wheel, your caster angle starts influencing your camber. Mm-hmm. Man, it's right there.
1.6.
1.6, right within the factory spec. So, good to go. So I'll double check all 4 corners, just make sure we're still good, and then I'll note that down. So we've got 1.6 here. $1.5.
Nice.
And I really thought you had like 3 degrees.
I did too.
I mean, the toe could be aggressive, which we won't know what it actually was because we made the ride height change,
Yeah.
so it'll lie to us a little bit, but
1.5 with
1.5.
dead nuts in the rear. I mean, the car only has 3,500 miles and it's been aligned twice,
yeah, fair.
according to records.
1.3, everything is within Porsche spec. Sweet. So I'll update the setup sheet up here.
Are we sure we don't want to add?
A little bit of shim to that front, right?
You can,
What's this side? 1.5?
1.5, 1.6. Yeah, we can add some to that side. They're both technically within spec, but if you want to make them even side to side, no problem.
Like a 2 millimeter shim?
Yeah, we've got a 1. We can give the 1 a shot. Because we put a 3 in that one, and it went from 1.1 to 1.6. So it's not perfectly linear, so probably a 1 will be close. See, we can do it. And I bet I can fit a 1 millimeter shim in there if it's anything like this side. So yeah, let's do it. Let me pull the car back forward, so we're back in the same spot on the quick jacks. $1.5.
Ah, I feel
Nice.
better now. I feel way better now, yeah.
So 1.5 on all corners, 1.6 on this one.
Oh,
Here's the thing about this gauge. You don't know if it's 1.55 and rounding up to 1.6, or if it's 1. You just don't know. So anything of 0.1 greater or lesser is just, I mean, you're down to the resolution of the gauge. So it's like, and 0.1 difference, I forget, it's like a hair width. You know, like 10 inches down. It's an insanely small number. So
okay, so now, how do we do tow?
we'll get the lasers out and do the cool things. This is my favorite part.
Okay, this is like magician science here.
Cool. So now we're going to do tow. That's when we get into the lasers. So the first thing we do is install all the laser mounts. And these are all marked per corner. Again, technically, this can go in any corner. It doesn't matter. They're all machined exactly the same. We just do this for repetition.
Okay.
Just go on with thumb screws. All right. So we've got 2 front ones and 2 rear ones. Got left front. And just thread on. That's it for these, and we'll do that for all 4 corners. So the next step is to set the offset. So the front of the car is a different width than the rear of the car. The track width is different.
Okay.
Typically on Porsches, the front is wider than the rear. That's just how they're built. American cars are usually the rear is wider than the front. Who knows, suspension dynamics magic. But Porsches are typically wider in the rear. So we're going to take the precision tape measures, we're going to go under and through these mounts, and we're going to measure the track width at the front and at the back and find the difference. And there's 2 little magnets. So those little magnets hold this one on the other side. So this just goes right in here.
I'll meet you. I'll get up there.
Under. All right. Yep, and it just goes in through the back side.
Doesn't hook?
It should hook into that little, like it goes through that hole,
Yeah, I got it.
and then it should catch on the magnets. There we go, and that's it. Then we'll do the same for the back. And now I'm going to lock your steering wheel in place. Make sure it's straight up and down.
Kind of acting like I own the place or something. I technically still do own the place.
They own everything.
Cut another, yeah, cut another.
Not paid for, you own it.
Yeah.
So this step is crucial to making sure your steering wheel is straight at the end. If you get this wrong, then your steering wheel's crooked. It's going to drive everyone nuts.
Yeah, I hate that.
All right, let me know if you think that is straight.
Whoa.
You're all right. That's what the retainers are for.
Yeah.
Cool. And now since we're going to start adjusting arms, I'm going to put the lockout plates back in, just so the car doesn't move around as much. So this is pretty much the only math we have to do, this whole thing.
Yeah.
So the front, we've got 1,795 millimeters. So I'll write that down, 1,795. And at the rear, we've got,
1754.
yeah, looks about right. 1754. 1754. So the difference, let's see if I can mental math this, 41 millimeters. So the difference in track width, front to rear, is 41 millimeters. So we'll install the laser alignment system on the front and the rear, and we have to offset the rear ones 20.5 millimeters per side. So what that does is it makes the laser alignment system track width the exact same front to rear. That'll make sense once we do it.
I don't know what he just said.
That way, if you're on the same plane, that way when you tow,
Yep.
it has a reference from 0.
Okay.
You know how much you tow.
You guys say so.
At least that's what I was thinking.
You got it.
So you need a different scale. So this scale on these is different because of the width difference front to rear
You
than it
got
would
it.
be on another car.
And that's just these grid plates.
Yeah.
So this all stays the same. The laser alignment system itself stays the same. It's just the grid plate that changes car to car. And you can actually use any grid plate on any car, but if you use a wheelbase that's different than what this is designed for, you have to do like a percentage change. So say someone has a shop and does 100 cars, they probably don't want to buy 100 different grid plates. So what they'll do is they'll buy one based off a 100-inch wheelbase. And then, oh, this car has a 90-inch wheelbase, I have to factor 10% out of whatever my measurement is. It's totally up to kind of what you want, but cool. So lasers are all installed. So now we have to set that offset at the back. So right now we're going to take these back ones and we're going to push them out 20.5 millimeters. They're in millimeter marks, so you just split one in half. See, and it just slides out. There's 20.5. Tighten down, done.
Why 20.5?
So there's a 41 millimeter difference,
that's right,
and then
okay.
it's split side to side.
Got it.
And so here's something really cool. Actually, I'll wait and show it once the lasers are turned on. So if the tow arm stays in the same spot, and we pushed everything out, that's going to, because the tow arm's in front, it's going to cause tow in, which is why that pushed out.
So the front laser is using the rear scale.
Yep.
And the rear scale is using, or
Yep.
rear laser is using the front scale.
Exactly. And so a super common question is, well, doesn't my rear toe mess up the scale that the front toe weighs? It doesn't. So toe is actually really small degrees. So we're talking camber can be like 3 degrees.
Yeah.
Toe, if you, like Porsche spec is 10 arc minutes, so 1/6 of a degree. Like it's really small numbers. If you have a degree of toe, like your dirt track or something, like it's not something you'd ever see in a car. So that implication in the small toe or the small angles have 0 impact on the positioning of the laser if the rear has toe versus.
And so in the front, your front and rear tie rods, right? So we have a tie rod in the front and a tie rod in the rear.
And you've got, the rear's got that rear steer motor.
Oh, that's right.
And so we've got an eccentric on the inside for the rear that will adjust. And at the front, we just have a standard toe arm.
Got it.
So here we go. And cool. So here's what I'm going to show real quick. So we get a lot of questions about the tape measures. They're all calibrated and certified. But we get the question all the time of what happens if I messed up that offset measurement? Like let's say I was off by 1 millimeter, or I was off by 2 millimeters. So I'm just going to fake all this. So I'm going to line up toe to 0. Let's say this was our offset. This is all fake. And you were wrong by 1 millimeter. You were wrong by 1 millimeter on your offset. Or 2, so it's 1 per side. And we made our offset 1 millimeter off. That's the error you created by being off on your offset number. So it's wildly error tolerant. Like that's 1/8 of a millimeter of toe. That's an incredibly small number. So you see every effect over a 100-inch distance. Or in this case, it's over a 2,400 millimeter distance. So every little detail in setting toe is exaggerated, but an error out here because you set the wrong offset is actually, it's pretty benign. It really doesn't have that much of an impact at all. So we'll take that back to 20.5. Cool. And now we'll adjust toe. So this is the
right
magic.
now our toe is something
It's
way
huge.
up.
Yep. And that's just because we made a camber change and we made a ride height change.
Yeah.
So you can actually watch it. So the toe arm's in the front. So as we make the control arm, which is behind the toe arm, longer, and the toe arm stays the same length, it's going to push it out like this and cause toe in, and that's exactly what we see on both sides.
So what do we look at? We measure toe as a summation of the 2 front wheels?
You can, yep. So a lot of times like a Hunter rack, you'll see total toe and side toe. Yep, so we'll do the same thing. But we basically, Porsche says toe is 1 millimeter. I'm just making it up.
Okay.
You split that side to side. Because they care about total numbers. They're not really caring about, they always assume you're even side to side.
Right.
Like that is the assumption. If we're not even side to side on front toe, your steering wheel is going to be crooked. If we're not even side to side on rear toe, you're going to dog track going down the road.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll see. So the assumption always is that toe is equal side to side. In the front case, it will always be because you're going to center the steering wheel to whatever makes you go straight down the road. If it was off, and it would wind up being equal left to right. So the rear toe being on the center line of the car is called thrust angle. And front toe being along the center line of the car is called steer ahead, which kind of makes sense because steer ahead and steering angle and all that jazz. So cool.
Yep.
The lasers are my favorite part. It's just cool to do the thing. So now we're going to adjust the toe arm, which adjusts in here. See what the easiest pathway to get in here is. I mean, whoever did this alignment the last time marked all the locations for where they lined it, like there's paint markers. They did a good job.
Oh, yeah, sure am. I'm looking, I was looking here. Right here.
And usually if your alignment's close, like this isn't a huge move like this.
Line on the right.
See it, yeah. I see it.
We're going to the center.
This is just a symptom of change in ride height and camber.
Yeah, it's way.
It moves as fast as I can move this wrench.
You're right. This is so easy.
Yeah, you ever aligned with strings before? It's
What, do what?
You ever done an alignment with
Oh,
strings
yeah.
before?
Yeah, for sure. To base setup, like before I take it to a shop, like if I
Yeah.
pull suspension plate apart.
You bump the like front bar and you're like, oh, gotta start over.
I wouldn't care if an alignment shop has my car if I have a Camry, you know, but
Yeah.
on a nice car like this, you don't.
Now you're at
We'll be
now.
splitting what, half and 75?
You're just, you know, so there's 75. A little more, I'd say right there.
Bam. Easy.
Now on a front toe arm, the left to right doesn't matter. So the what you do on that side isn't going to affect this
Nope.
side.
Yep. Now, here's the thing. If you didn't lock the steering wheel,
It could.
so what can happen is it's not that you actually affect the other side, it's that the steering wheel turned as you were making an adjustment. So that's why we always lock it. One, it makes sure we stay centered, and when two, it makes sure we don't actually affect it. If you push on the rack hard enough, depending on the car design, you can actually have an effect on the steering wheel. Then we'll do it again. Which it's actually, you can see it here. We added, what, a 1 millimeter shim on this side. We added a 3 millimeter shim on this side. That side was off the charts on toe, and this one's not.
Yeah, this one's, yeah.
So you can see the implication that adding that shim makes.
So all those years when I just took my GT3, just lowered it and rolled with it.
You didn't realize what you were doing. You were
Well, I knew I was, but I'm like, it's good enough. It feels good.
Yeah. But I bet if you knew, like you know now, you probably wouldn't go to sleep until you had the line.
Yeah.
Can't unknow.
Like I only lowered it half an inch. It's fine.
It's fine.
That's it right there.
Cool. Once I tighten up these lock nuts, I won't be surprised if it moves a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll back off the lock nut, and then we'll make a small change and then put the lock nut back on. Yeah, so that change right there is solely from tightening up the lock nut. Because there's play in the thread each way, so we lost, what, 0.65-ish, 0.5?
We lost, yeah.
So I'm gonna take it to like 1.25, and then tighten the lock nut back up. You get into this game really quickly, especially with rubber bushings, because you can get so precise. You're like, I have changed nothing. What is the difference?
Yeah.
You just have a little bit of rubber bushing play, which is by design, you know. So.
Cars have solid everywhere.
Yep, all Heims, and then it's cake. Like you tighten it down, doesn't move.
Yeah, this is my kind of alignment work here. I feel like I'm at the discount tire waiting room, just chilling on the
But
couch.
you don't have to stress that none of these.
I'm like, I hope that Hundo I palmed works. Every time they start walking back to me, I'm always thinking, oh gosh.
How's that?
Any bad news?
How are they looking?
Sorry, but we accidentally dropped your
Okay.
engine off on the ground.
Yep, I gotcha.
Sorry, but we accidentally dropped a 10-pound impact on your fender.
Yeah.
Also, our insurance doesn't cover it.
Billy Bob went out for the quick test drive around the park and happened to hit a planter that he didn't see.
That's oddly specific.
There's nothing mechanically wrong, but the entire side of your car was destroyed. You know, it's got a big scratch on it. But we'll get it painted. Don't worry. We'll get our people to do it.
Yeah, we had.
I was so fired up. I got so many projects and so much to do. At 1:30, I was wide awake. I started editing videos.
I noticed that 2:30 text, and I was like,
Yeah.
well,
I was up till 3. Freaking 26.5-minute 5K. That's the worst. I'm gonna run another one tomorrow just to redeem myself. My 5K PR is 18:11. That was a different. I hate that guy. He's a different guy.
now we do the back. The back involves slightly more wrenches because of the eccentric, but it's the same idea.
All right. So the back, I need to turn the ignition on.
Yes, because the rear steer has to be power or energized.
I can do that. That'll be my job.
So this one needs barely any toe in. I'm gonna check our sheet real quick, but it's basically nothing.
So you're at a quarter.
We need 0.625 on the back. I flipped it. Each side. So the back is 1.25 toe in. The front is 0.25 toe in. I flipped it. I should have just looked at the sheet, and I just kept on rolling. So
Okay.
no big deal.
Oh, it moved a lot.
Yeah, that's because of the eccentric.
Now you're back.
Back.
So that's half.
Okay.
Or a quarter.
Yeah, too much. Too much.
There's 0.75 there.
Okay.
Now you're shooting gap.
Sweet.
Half and 75.
That's what I want. There we go. Still there?
Yeah.
Sweet, let's see the other side.
Tires gassed up. These old tires, old stinky tires. Somebody's like, I can't believe you're gonna put 5-year-old tires on your car. Like, what? The tires that are on the car are 10 years or 8 years old. You should replace them. That's what you do. You'll goop the tire dressing on, wipe it off now, it'll be perfect. After the first wash, it'll be good to go.
All right, we've got tow set. Next thing, we're gonna look at the torque specs in the Porsche manual. We'll torque everything up to spec that we adjusted. We'll pick the car up, put the wheels back on, and see how it looks. Sound good?
Nice.
Next up.
You all have the same tire size, front and rear.
Yeah.
The design of these nuts are pretty genius.
I should be reinstalling Optimal, but
What's that?
I should be reinstalling per Porsche procedure, but
Well,
I
there's quite a bit on the back side.
don't have it here. Tighten. That's where it's at. Yep, that's good.
Better?
That's where it should be.
Yeah. A little bit of wheel gap now.
Yeah, I'll just run around the block. I'll be right back. Mike, you can pull right in. Ugh, I hate these seat angled crap so much.
Keep coming, and just a little more, stop. That's it? Yeah, we're center left to right. Well, we're close enough, it'll be fine.
All right, so that's a wrap. I think I can do this. I know I can do this.
For sure.
Used to do a little bit of math, a little bit of calculating. It's pretty simple, not bad.
Yeah.
And we got the height straight right from the get, and so everything looks good. So go to CSM Motorsport or CSMPerformance.com.
You got it?
I'll put links in the description. Hit Colton up. You can email him, direct message him on Renlist, and order your own system for you. We're going to do another video on Mike's car. It'll be a separate video, and it'll be more concise and show you the step-by-step process. So we're going to try to knock this one out. We're going to set the timer and move real fast on Mike's car. Impacts only. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Colton, for coming down here. Mike's getting nervous. I'm not going to touch his car. I'm just going to sit and watch. Thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. This stuff is cool. You want it. See you soon.